All right, you can hear us. That is fantastic.
Yeah,
it is the
actually have
26th.
microphone.
We weren't quite sure. I was confident that when we switched scenes, the audio would come on, but
because
it did.
you guys didn't hear that, but we actually tried to turn on the microphone while the countdown was running, and that didn't work.
Yeah, but I just know how these things work, man.
All these spoilers.
It's fine. Yeah, we talked about like the Bullet King raid and like you know, like all of these things that are like
casual chatting.
Yeah,
the buff to the Valkyria.
Yeah, Valkyria buffs.
Yeah, all these things.
No, but seriously, we do have a lot to talk today because a lot has happened in week 1 of the PTS. I mean, I guess calling it week 1 kind of confirms that there's probably more coming. Anyway, we'll get to that. We have a lot to talk about today. But week 1, a lot has happened, and we'll get to all of the admittedly broken stuff throughout this because there is some things that are wildly broken. It's not the Valkyria. That's totally fine.
Oh, that's fine.
It's a buff everything. You were joking about buff everything up to the Valkyria and nothing lives ever.
Yeah.
Basically, it's just
that
like
seems.
Yeah.
Well,
this is fine.
dead. Yeah, this is fine. Don't worry about it. But yes, there have been things that are broken. But the one thing, and I actually posted about this online yesterday. It's very easy to think when something like this happens, when things are so wildly broken, which they are. Well, very specific things. But don't forget, there are lots of other things in the build that is very, very. They're very, very helpful for us to test. There are things in there that we've never tested before, legendary mode, the new incursion, all of these sorts of things.
North.
Things that people won't, you know, lots of nav mesh, like level type things that people don't notice. But the PTS is super valuable for us in that regard.
Server stability and hashing out the deltas and mics of the world. Try to get all of that sorted.
Yeah, I mean, you say the delta and mic thing, and we kind of, you know, joke about them even though they make us like mad
Cringe.
to our core.
Yeah. Everybody mad, I think.
But yeah, exactly. We get as you know, I mean, if you've been watching the stream, you know I've been delted as much as any other guy, right? It's a thing. But whenever that happens, and you know, glass half full, whenever that happens, that will get that thing that happened
is
captured by us, and we can make sure that we get enough data to collect and make adjustments.
Yeah,
as
to programmers and server people to look at.
Well, apparently you're the best programmer we have, so.
Reddit said so.
Yeah.
Yes, I haven't programmed since
this is
the
how you
90s,
program, right?
but sure. Let's go with that.
This is me
Exactly.
programming.
We need an Alex era. An Alex era would be a good addition.
I think the era of Mike is over. We
just
should
so
have
we can
Alex.
kill it.
Yes.
But yeah, the first week of PTS has been very helpful for us. I know it can be frustrating for players to be playing with unbalanced or newly introduced or broken gear, but for us it's still valuable. And we're gonna
very, very valuable. The other thing to note, is that people are like, oh, why didn't the ETF catch this? They did. Don't worry about it.
Yes, they did.
All the feedback we got from them was super valuable. The build that people are playing on the PTS right now doesn't include those.
Most of their feedback. It was fairly close in time, so we didn't have time to implement a lot of what they suggested. A lot of that is coming up.
But guys, I'm aware that we sound like we're making a lot of excuses. So
let's talk about the things.
Let's definitely talk about the things. You had something to say before I rudely interrupted you. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about the ETF and stuff. So you just completely took it away from me. But that's fine. I'm just sitting in the middle and I'm like.
It's like we're finishing each other's sentences.
I'm trying to say something.
You know, like we're just linked.
It's like fine. You don't need me anymore because you've been doing so many State of the Games without me now.
Well, the thing is, we have more viewers when you're not here.
That's true. That's true.
And right now, I bet we don't have what we had last week. To be fair, we pimped out last week pretty hard.
Yeah, you kind of hyped it anyway. I wanted to say that, as you said, but this build was very similar to what the ETF actually played, and as Frederick said, we didn't have much time to change anything. So, the good thing is that the ETF did warn us and did find out all these things with the Valkyria and all of that. It's just, we have the changes that are ready already for the next build of the PTS.
So I mean, the biggest things that were meta-definingly broken in the first week would be the Valkyria. The Hungry Hog was broken. It had a ×2 rather than a ×0.2 multiplier on it. So you know.
And some other things.
Maths.
Why don't we go through those one by one? Because I wrote down the big 3 broken things. Valkyria, the Hungry Hog, and the other thing I wrote it down, a Seeker, obviously.
The Seeker gear set,
So let's start with Valkyria. What for people who don't know, I guess we should start at the start. If people haven't been on the PTS, because we have a lot of console players who may not be following streams and all that.
So the Valkyria is a set of 2 submachine guns. One that was previously, the Valkyria, and a new one which is of the same type. And if you switch back and forth between them, is the intent, you build up a buff on one that can be used by the other. But that's not what was happening. Some glitch made it so that the first one could use the buff it was building and keep building it forever. So it cost a decent amount of damage. And it pretty much defined the Dark Zone meta for the week. People were erasing each other with it.
Yeah, it basically wasn't even a meta, right? It was like basically giving people the ability to cheat, but legitimately. So what of the Valkyria will people see in the next iteration of the PTS?
Well, first of all, they're going to be named Hilder and Ayer.
So correctly named.
Correctly named.
Yes.
One of them is gold and one is silver. And the Hilder builds up a buff for critical strike damage that the Ayer can use.
Okay.
And while you're using it with the Ayer, it will be dropping.
So the intent is the same, it's just that now you have to use it.
It will work.
Yeah.
Okay.
It will work only.
It'll work.
Like that.
In before, it might not. And in PTS week 2, there's probably something else. No. I have confidence that this will work. Because I think also the value was down from 100% to 30%.
30% now. And that's subject to change. We'll see.
Of course.
Yeah.
As is everything on the PTS.
Yes.
Don't forget. And I think this is one of the things that we run away with all the time. People, and myself, we're like, 1.6 has these things wrong with it. No. 1.6 PTS has these things wrong with it, which is great. Like we want things, well, we don't want things to be wrong with the PTS, but it's good when they are, because then we can identify them and fix them before they actually become
we also had
in the live game.
A decent amount of plans that from the ETF feedback and workshops that were simply not implemented yet. There will be big changes that will be coming.
Yeah, I see a lot of people in chat that are asking, why didn't we hotfix the Valkyria actually if we know that it's broken, and why are we waiting until we have the next PTS coming to actually hotfix it? And I think it's just a question of like, we have a lot of things that are coming with the next PTS, so we just want to make sure to package as many of these changes as possible together, because if we just like hotfix that but don't fix the rest, like I mean, if we want to fix the Valkyria but we don't fix the Hungry Hog and we don't fix the Seeker and then we don't fix this and that, you know, it's just...
It also takes a certain amount of testing and time to get a build out there and be able
Otherwise
to
Adrian's
patch.
going to be up, going to be like, guys, stop!
Stop it!
Stop doing like daily builds.
No, but so the next thing was the Hungry Hog. The Hungry Hog had a math error.
So it was 2%.
It was 200% instead of 20%.
Oh yeah,
So what it's going to be though, it's going to be a 10% per stack, and it's going to stack a max of 5 times. Is what we're going to try out for the next phase of the PTS, which should be a little bit more reasonable.
So it should still work with Meticulous, but therefore you're going to build up to 50% damage increase.
Yeah, that's the
and
intent.
then you would keep it, especially if you use Meticulous, you could keep it as long as you can shoot. So
I mean, I really like the idea of a Hungry Hog being an awesome PvE weapon. I mean, obviously this
throughput type of
this
weapon.
isn't going to be the kind of thing that, I mean, I'm sure someone will find a way to use it in PvP, but it's not the kind of thing that is PvP focused.
No.
I think it's really cool. Maybe the way that Solid FPS was using it was a little bit much. Soloing Legendary, that's not the intent. But I'm excited to see what it's like in week 2.
I think it's...
Yeah.
Lepanto is saying that 10% is a bit underwhelming. Maybe. But still, that's PTS. So if we realize that it's not enough.
The easiest thing for us to tweak are the numbers and the values based on when we see people play with it in a reasonable way. The harder things to compensate for and react to is when the functionality is wrong, right? So we're happy with what it does functionally, and now we can try it on another phase of the PTS and see where it lands.
Exactly. And we might have that situation, we've had it before in the PTS, where we swing wildly between too powerful, not powerful enough, and we kind of come back to like a nice middle as we balance. Oh, look at that. Thanks for switching to that, Peter. And that's just the way that, it works. We will find that nice little mid-ground. The last one, the Seeker gear set. Because I alluded to this morning on the stream. I said the Seeker gear set in the next iteration will not be as you know the Seeker gear set right now. You can basically...
So there's a couple of things that happen. So first of all, the impression that the set gives is that it's about spamming shots to the body with reckless abandon. And while it's can be used more cleverly than that, because you can use the crit for a crit headshot, etc., that's not what we were seeing.
No, and it's,
and also the crits are a powerful way to proc things like the Caduceus and other things like that, self-preserved, whatever. So we're going to go a different way with it. We're gonna have it so that after 2 shots to the body, you're gonna get a 200% headshot multiplier for your next headshot.
Yes.
So you actually have to use some precision to cash that in.
Yes, and
and
it's
the 2
entirely
and
different.
3 piece are also changed.
Yes, so you don't get, as the 2-piece, you won't have the 10% body damage because that's...
No, so
for most, that's a flat
there's
10%.
going to be a utility stat there. We're going to try with some of the new stat, resist all for it.
Yeah.
Okay,
Um,
then the 3-piece?
and the 3 piece is where the body shot damage ends up.
At 5% though?
At
or
5%.
We're going to try 5%.
We're going to try 5%.
Yeah.
With that. I mean, my
Or
first...
the math works out to somewhere around that. If you look at other damage increases. On
Yeah, I mean, people are already in
3
chat
piece.
saying that's way better. Some people are a little bit mad. Probably a lot of Valkyria.
I think it's gonna play really nicely with marksman rifles. It's going to also play really nicely with assault rifles that rise because you're gonna you shoot to the body and eventually you'll hit the head. It doesn't drop that buff until you hit the head, so you can just.
Yeah, is this something that we're going to see maybe very, very skilled players using with burst fire weapons?
Burst fire weapons would be made for it. If you put it center mass and then let it climb up to the head, you're gonna do pop, pop,
Right.
pop, body,
That could
body,
be
head.
cool. At least for me, and we'll get to why the MDR is going to be very exciting about that.
MDR is going to be good with it.
I think with the fast-firing marksman rifles, especially the SVD, this is going to be really good.
Yeah.
But there's also edge cases where the M44 is going to be really, really good because you have the additional 200% headshot damage. And this is my question to you that, I mean, I
Yeah,
think
we're gonna have to watch out for that. It's
People will
not
have that
times 200%. It's 200
Added.
extra.
Yeah, it's
So we're gonna have to dial that in. We're gonna see
Yeah.
if it creates a one-shot meta, but that depends on, you know, does it drop the buff after X seconds or something to prevent you from stacking it up on some NPCs over here and then drop the guy over there.
Yeah.
There's all these kinds of things we can do to it, but this is the base thing that we're gonna try out for now.
Yes. And I'm just reading chat. You guys forget about SMG? No, I mean, we're still, obviously, well, I can't speak for
And
Frederick.
some of the
we're-
news that we're talking about today will certainly talk to SMG users. So maybe we should even.
should we save the MDR stuff for patch notey things?
No, we could talk about the MDR. It's a weapon, right? Why not?
I don't know what I'm doing here anyway, so
Well, the thing
it's
is,
like
you're so out of practice, Yannick, that you just sit there and look beardy, and it's fine.
okay, that's good.
But
Just here for the looks.
Can I say it?
Yeah.
The MDR is getting a 65% base damage increase.
So
Feel good about it.
So it's going to be decently close to some of the lower end marksman rifles, like the SVD, in terms of power.
I feel very, very good about this. Yeah, no words. All right, people are
but
happy.
again, it's I think it's important to say that because like the 65 can sound like a lot, like it's a lot, but it's a completely different type of weapon compared to our assault rifles. So as you said, it handles more like a marksman rifle.
Yeah,
so
it
that's
has
why
about the same rhythm and everything.
that's why it's justified to have a base damage increase because
That's
the
huge.
RPM is completely different.
Exactly. So Sentry users, Firecrest users, the
Yeah.
new Seeker users, maybe
Probably,
the MDR
probably.
could
Yeah,
be a
it's
thing?
probably going to be a thing. So also because we're changing resistances some in this patch, generally people are going to be under status effect for shorter amounts of time, which means that part of the MDR buff is the distracted talent also gets an increase. So it's going to actually be a better talent on it as well.
Cool. What about Historian? I was using it today. I think Historian's really good. It's a very, very interesting gun. I think Tacticians might not be working quite. We have some reports that, you know, if people are using a skill, it'll consume your tac buff. And that sort of thing.
Tacticians is fixed now. We found all the problems
For
with
the
it.
next PTS.
But I was running Tacticians with the Historian today. It's a lot of fun.
It should be good.
It's very cool.
And the one thing we've done to the Historian is that it had a really annoying explosion sound, and that's been fixed.
The sound was kind of annoying.
It was a bit overwhelming.
We were running 3 Historians in our group today, and it was like, we're everywhere.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway,
There
Moving on.
was somebody also asking, since we're talking about weapons,
Yes.
and it's my turn to.
It's all right. I'll just be here.
Somebody was asking about the showstopper.
yeah, we're going to increase the showstopper some as well.
Yeah.
It's been underperforming.
Base
so-
damage wise or talent wise?
Base damage wise.
Okay.
Yeah.
Talent doesn't go much anywhere further because it already goes to sort of pinpoint accuracy. So base damage.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. And now people be like, Striker, showstopper, new meta. It's gonna happen. All right.
No, it was a MDR meta. They said anyway.
It'll change. Just wait.
MDR is quite a skillful weapon to use right now, so I wouldn't mind.
Yeah. There you go. So one of the big, you can do it if you want.
Yeah, you talk.
You move on.
That's how it is.
I've gotten
now.
so used to you not being here. It's just like I don't even know what to do anymore.
Ignore.
Sounds like you're mad now.
I am mad.
All right. So anyway.
Show up to work, Yannick.
So yeah, no. The other big thing that you've been working on is about stats and gear stats.
Right. So,
and so this is coming with the next PTS.
And we had a big workshop with the ETF members.
Yeah.
Where we talked about armor and health and what stats you pick as majors and things like that. And the change that we made to the armor bonus, turning it into health, is just the first step of the results of that workshop and what we do. So what we're going to do now is, first of all, we're gonna hand out free base health to everyone.
Yeah.
I think it's tier 5. It's somewhere around the 80,000 health region that's going to be just given to you for free. For just existing.
So people don't have that in
No.
PTS
No.
1?
So right now everything comes from your stamina on your gear. You're still going to have the stamina on your gear.
Okay.
But that allows us to take some of that health that we added for free, take that away from the major bonuses and the stamina, so that those bonuses aren't so valuable that you can't pick anything else for them.
Yeah.
So that should allow us to keep people at high survivability, or the survivability that we were targeting, while allowing them to pick some other stats.
Yeah.
So to that effect, we've also gone through and house cleaned a little bit in the stats of gear. Okay. So we made sure that there's some lesser used stats we've thrown away on new gear. Some stats that we felt weren't readily available, such as crit chance for all the SMG builders, are now available on more pieces of gear. Holsters can now roll, instead of pistol damage, they can actually roll a very sizable chunk of reload speed.
That's cool.
And you can even find a pretty large amount of stability on one of the pieces if you're struggling in that area.
Okay.
So overall, the goal is to try to make a meta where you are a little bit more free to pick what your build is, and that there's something for every type of build on every piece. So that there's something for firearms shooter people, there's something for skill users, there's something for tanky users on every piece that rolls as a major bonus.
One of the ones that I found interesting in that discussion in the workshop was the whole damage to elites thing.
Right. So damage to elites, especially moving into the era of legendary mode, is a more niche stat than armor damage. Because both veterans and elites have armor. Yeah. And so do players, whereas damage to elites is a niche stat. So we're swapping those around, and where you would have found damage to elites, there's now enemy armor damage as a major, whereas damage to elites becomes a minor, because that's their relationship. One is a major stat that applies to many things, one is a niche stat that applies to fewer things.
So Bruno Silva in chat is saying more RNG.
It's going to be less in a lot of ways, because if a piece rolls, hopefully, or that piece is useful for something. Bad, or for most players, bad majors like protection from elites won't drop. So you're going to find, health or haste or some other stat that's useful for a build on any item. That's the goal, anyway.
Very, very cool.
Yeah.
All right.
One other thing that I think is important, and that has been there's been a lot of discussion around it since we released the PTS, and it's very much linked to PvP, which is Hipfire.
Yeah.
So where are we at with Hipfire?
So we did a first little thing on the first PTS where we did a different camera for it to sort of take away that overview that you have when you're stuck in your, when you retain your normal camera. There's a couple of ways we could go with Hipfire. Obviously, Hipfire should function in the game. It's a part of the game, but it should be a panic reaction that's not very effective. For the next PTS, we're going to go with adjusting spread and recoil quite aggressively when you're hip firing. If that turns out to not feel good or not be right, then we can try other things later. Cool. But that's what's going to happen in the
Yeah,
next
it's going to be
build.
interesting to see, and this is one of the things that we definitely want to have as an ongoing discussion, because, and it's already a discussion, to be fair.
Yeah.
Lots of people are talking about how Hipfire works. I've seen it referred to as the chicken dance, PvP, right now.
Right.
And it's true.
Yeah. And that's what we're aggressively targeting with
Yeah.
a lot of these changes.
It's kind of a little bit around the other way. You are punished for not hipfiring, basically. Well, I mean, that's a bit hyperbolic, but you know, anyone who's seen PvP in the Dark Zone, there's a lot of hipfire right
Yeah.
now.
There is.
So it'll be interesting to see exactly how that shifts
Yeah.
once, you know, weapons are kind of flying up a bit and that sort of thing.
One of the things that I think we might be trying sometime during this PTS process is to see what the effect of slightly more damage, a slightly higher PvP modifier would do. We could try that at some point, because maybe the problem is that you even get up to each other and can't fight each other from across the street and never have a chance to kill someone at a little longer range.
Yeah.
But that's not in the. That's something we can tweak live on the server. So we'll see if we do that.
Yeah, this is what I mean. There's already a lot of different points in the chat, like, you know, turn off the reticle for hipfire. What does this mean for the Tommy gun? All those sorts of things. Maybe the Tommy gun should have a reticle and the other guns shouldn't. But you know, these are. This is conversation.
Yeah.
This is why we do
Yeah.
these streams. This is why we have all the places that you can discuss these
And
things.
we have had a lot of good conversation with people that have been playing the PTS or that are just part of the PTS generated conversations, come with a lot of good suggestions for this stuff. We could have it not crit, not have headshot bonus, whatever. We'll see where we land with it. But there's also why do people get so close so that they want to hipfire? There's a larger thing to address there.
Philosophical problem.
Somebody was saying, like, Jesus, do not increase hipfire damage. The idea was not hipfire damage. The idea was to increase PvP damage.
PvP
overall.
damage, so that you can kill someone before they get so close that you're in a hipfire circle dance.
That's what you were talking about earlier, which, like, trying to maybe make it more interesting, or to attempt to actually shoot at another player that is actually far away, instead of now just trying to run to him and then engage in a short.
So someone brings
combat.
up responsive as a talent. Maybe that's part of the whole
Package.
discussion as well. Anyway, that's one of those ones. So anyway, moving on, there will be a next phase of the PTS.
Yes.
Where are we at with that?
So we have a phase 2 that is coming, or PTS 2, or PTS week 2, even though we don't want to think of PTS as weeks. So yeah, we have a PTS 2 that is in development. The build is almost ready. It's going through the final testing, so hopefully we can have it released as soon as possible. We'll have patch notes that are going to be published that are listing a lot of, all the things that we've been talking about. So that's going to be containing more things than just what we've talked about. One of the big things that obviously we announced like last week in your great state of the game.
Thank you.
Where you had so many viewers because I was not in.
Yeah, you should just leave now. See what happens.
Was
You shouldn't leave,
the
please
last end game mode.
Yes.
So this is something that we definitely want to try on the PTS, obviously. So this is going to be made available with the next PTS, and coming with the last end game mode is also something that we really want to try and really need to test on the PTS. It's going to be normalization.
Yay!
So the idea of normalization is, and I've seen some people asking in the chat about it, the idea is to, or maybe you want to talk about it.
You go. You're on a roll.
To be fair, it is a Red Storm thing, so we might proviso.
Yeah.
We might
I don't
get
want to
some-
misrepresent.
Yeah.
we might get something wrong, but we'll try our best.
So Red Storm folks, I
Sorry,
hope we'll do
they
this
might be
right.
watching.
But no, the idea with normalization is just to, how do we kind of try to limit the impact of min-maxing your gear and all that in the PvP of Last Stand. So the idea with normalization is, first, it's something that only applies to Last Stand. It does not apply to the Dark Zone. And when you go in Last Stand, we are basically going to work some magic with the stats that you have on your character based on your gear and all of that, to make sure to limit the impact of randomness on your gear, basically. So how does that work? I actually have the list here of the normalization. What does that mean? And keep in mind, before I list all of that, because I'm pretty sure some people will have opinions about it, keep in mind this is basically version 1 that we're going to put on the PTS.
Just a test.
That's the version 1. It may work, it may not. We will see based on your feedback. So keep that in mind. But the idea is, so what happens when I jump in a last stand match and I get normalized? So all your gear first is going to be increased. Where are you laughing? People
Just some comments. Yes.
People are saying fun stuff. All your,
Stop distracting Yannick. He has an important
I
job.
know, I'm lost.
God.
I'm not used to this anymore.
All right.
So all your gear first is going to be maxed to gear score 256. So that's it. You can go there with gear 163. It's going to become a 256. That's the first part. This is just temporary, okay? Keep that in mind. When you leave last stand, then you're back with your normal gear.
Yeah.
So 256. For the gear pieces, basically all the main attributes, firearms, stamina, and electronics are going to be maxed out to the maximum roll possible, which is, I can't remember, 1275 or something like that. Or
What?
Anyway, so they're going to have the maximum value that they can have based on the fact that they are 256 now. Then...
Oh, on that, yeah. Yeah, no, I'm with you. I'm with you. Keep going.
Did I lose you?
No, I'm good. Keep going.
Okay.
1272. There you go.
Stay with me because there's a bunch
You
of
have the
things.
theory
So
crafters in the chat. Yeah.
1272. I was not far. I said 1275. Yeah. Then the next thing that happens is, again on gear pieces, some of the bonuses are actually going to be uniformly scaled. So this is the weapon type damage. So it's all the pistol damage, SMG damage, and all of that. The skill power and the health. These are going to be uniformly scaled, which means that they're all going to be brought to the same value, to a uniform value.
Great.
Then all the other bonuses, though, these remain the same. They are not changed.
Okay.
So they will have different values depending on the player and depending on your gear. That's for the gear pieces. Then for the weapons, so the same. They're brought to gear score 256. The talents are going to unlock based on the attributes that have been normalized on your gear.
So your maxed roll stuff.
So the maxed roll stuff. So normally it should be easier for you to unlock talents, but that depends what kind of stats you specialized in. Then the mods will act as normal, and all the other stats are also unchanged. So the RPM, the reload speed, and all these kind of things will be unchanged. The armor mitigation value is going to be set at the same value for everyone. So everybody has the same armor mitigation, so there is no min-maxing your armor.
Maxed rolled armor.
Yeah, maxed roll armor, basically. And then all the things that player talent, the gear set bonuses, weapon set bonuses, all these kind of things, they apply normally.
Yeah, the ones that create the personality and rotation of your build.
Yeah. So the end result is that you should keep the identity of the build that you have equipped on your character, that you have developed on your character, but therefore the importance of the rolls, the min-max rolls that you have on your build is kind of limited and reduced because we are maxing everything.
Exactly. I think it's really great for people that maybe play, a few hours a week and that sort of thing, and they can jump in and they could have the right, stats on their gear, but maybe not max rolls on everything, and they're not punished for that. They can roll in and have a great thing.
Yeah.
People, this guy Eric keeps saying I look like a 12-year-old. I mean, it's true, but
That's because you don't have a beard.
It's the beard comparison. Yeah, that's what's doing it.
one day
But
I'll hit puberty, and the beard's just going to...
But the normalization is for last stand game mode. It's not something that's going to be active when you're PvPing in the dark zone. That's stats free for all as it was always.
Yeah. And again, this is version 1. I see some different kind of reactions. Some people say it's good. Other people say it's they use mean words. But
no, chat never uses.
People are asking by Banshee, by the way. We should have that.
We'll get to Banshee in a second. Don't worry about that.
We'll get to it. But yeah, that's version 1. We'll see if it works. We may also try a round of last stand without normalization on the PTS to compare both and see which one works best.
Yep.
So definitely open for feedback on that one.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah.
Crystal, how did I do?
You did great.
Did you see that Denty got timed out on the chat?
Get wrecked, dude. Get out of here.
We love you, Denty.
That's because you shaved your beard.
Yeah, there you go. You get
That's what you get.
What you gonna do? What's next, man?
Okay, so the other changes that are coming with PTS2. So we talked about a lot of things before. So we talked about Valkyria, Seeker, all of that. The Urban MDR we talked about. Also, skill power. A few changes to skill power. Do you want to fill in for Mathieu?
I'm not. I wouldn't want to fill in for Mathieu, but the main thing is that this changes to skill power in the PTS were vast, and we knew we were going to have to make adjustments. So adjustments are coming, specifically to make sure that haste and skill power can be picked for various different reasons.
Yeah, it's. I think It's not a complete change compared to what we did in PTS 1. It's just more of an adjustment and a tweak. The end result, also we're said by by Mathieu, who worked on it, is that first, the idea is to make sure that skill haste is valuable. So the impact of skill power on cooldowns is going to be limited. What that means is that when you have low skill power, you will actually have higher cooldowns than you have right now because you will be less reliant on your skill power. And when you have high skill power, if you only use your skill power, your cooldowns are going to be a bit longer compared to what you have now, which should be good news for the solo players. And we know that we have a lot of solo PvE players. And we hear you guys. We totally hear you that, yes, a lot of changes we've done may have an impact on your experience. So that's something we are monitoring. This change is something that should come as good news because basically if you're not specialized in skill power, which usually you would be less likely to be as a solo player because you're trying to be more balanced. Your heal cooldown, your first aid cooldown should be a bit shorter.
The goal is that if you are balanced in your stats, then you should be fine. You should be able to heal yourself, etc. So, that's what we're aiming for.
We talked about the NDR. That's cool.
Yes.
Legendary difficulty. I tried it today.
You had an easy time of it.
Maybe I'm a masochist. It was. I mean, we didn't complete it, but we weren't. The thing is, it needs. I want something really, really difficult. Come on.
I think a lot of people think it's really, really difficult.
Yeah.
It can be kind of polarizing.
It is going to be polarizing.
There were some things in this week's PTS that made it easier. So we've made some adjustments to the heal station that's being used by the Reclaimer set.
Yes.
Well,
let's stay on that before we forget. So Reclaimer right now is very, very powerful, and it's cool that
because
we have
the heal station is powerful.
Yes, it's cool that we have a support build that is looking like it's really going to work in 1.6. But it did feel at times, especially during my run through today, that you're down and up all the time. So what are we changing with the support station? I mean,
so obviously the skill power changes themselves, the adjustments that Mathieu have made will affect how effective it is and stuff like that. And we've made some adjustments to the heal speed of it, to the range of it, and to the revive timer, because one of the cheesier aspects of it this week, if you permit me that word, is that people were chain reviving through things that should have wiped them. Because the revive timer is so short on it.
2 seconds?
Yeah, so that's going to be longer. But in general, we knew that there was going to be a pretty large shift to a support meta with bigger health pools that heals can work on and better skill power that power the heals. So we are still adjusting and trying to hone that in.
Yeah. There you go.
But there's something else also to Legendary. I mean, it's not just Legendary.
It's not just Legendary. It's everywhere. People are not wrong on this point.
Yeah, that's a good one. Because you said Legendary was a bit too easy, but there was something that made it harder and that made the whole game harder. And you guys spotted it a while ago, and we finally can tell you you were right. There was indeed something wrong with NPC aiming.
You were right most of the time, some of the time.
Yeah.
Because it's not a global thing, right? So this is my understanding of it. The NPC accuracy was...
There were cases.
There were cases where it was 100% accuracy during certain animations, right?
Yeah, and they would hit every shot.
Yeah. So that's
and that wasn't in every case, so it was hard to figure out, but Drew and his crew found it eventually.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I see people.
And so that's we talk about that in the context of Legendary because this is something that a lot of people have been complaining with the difficulty of Legendary was that not the damage that the NPCs deal, but their actual accuracy. That as soon as you pop your head out, they're just going to one-shot you.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's something that has been fixed, and there are some changes and tweaks that have been done there. So with Legendary, it's like there's a mix of changes that could make it harder and other changes that are going to make it easier. So it's just going to feel a bit different the way we approach it. But the thing that's important with Legendary, I think, is to keep in mind that it's not really meant for everyone, or it's not meant to be completed by everyone. It's really meant to be for the players that are min-max, that are optimized and all that.
It's a way to test your builds and to push yourself and to give yourself a challenge.
I think I understand why some people might find that a bit confronting. It's something, if you remember back to some of the streams we did around 1.4, to be fair, we had Drew on and we were like, we've got those new world tiers and these sorts of things. And we admitted that there's not really an in-game challenge for our most hardcore players. This is what I think this is.
But so this is, so far at least this is the idea with Legendary, which is that we want to keep tweaking it and improving it based on your feedback, but keep in mind that we want it to be challenging, we want it to be hard. So,
but because of this, we don't want to lock any gear or gear behind it.
No.
Right? So this should be a way to say, hey, look, I'm awesome.
There's a nice
I have
hat,
this vanity
I
stuff.
think.
Right? Which I think's awesome. I want to be able to say and show that like I did it. I did it. One of the questions I'm seeing a lot is it's one of the ones we haven't talked about. Deadeye. Is that one of the ones that we
so
might look at?
We might do. I want to do the thing that most people are looking at, which is to think about when it's active, when it's shoulder, when it's zoomed, etc. That might be something we get to during this PTS process. I've had to prioritize other things before this, but I mean we're aware that it's that it's clunky to use right now. So we'll see if we get to it. Yeah.
There are two things we haven't talked about. Banshee. People are
Banshee.
about
Okay.
Let's get to Banshee.
Just so. So a lot of people, when we ask for feedback on Banshee, because obviously for those that aren't keeping up or haven't read, the Dark Zone now does not punish non-rogue players with the loss of XP or currency globally. That's just the change to the rules of the Dark Zone. They will still drop items. That's sort of the key to have
mechanics,
rogues to steal items and stuff like that. But they won't drop those things. And that was the bonus of the non-rogue part of the Banshee set. So instead, we figured we'd try to go with the sort of rogue hunter angle. And so the additional bonus, except for the global 10% bonus to rogues, is that if a rogue kills you, you're going to get another boost to damage against rogues for 10 minutes after you revive.
So to get that revenge.
To get that revenge. So you have a while to go and crack some heads.
Okay, cool. Is that something that people will experience in the next iteration of PTS? Okay.
And people, and of course, that's been part of the discussion. People are asking about the ninja backpack in the same time. So that seems to be a confusion, because when we said that the change we're doing in the Dark Zone is that when you're non-rogue and you get killed, you will not lose Dark Zone Fund and Dark Zone XP, but you will still lose items.
You still drop items, because that's what the gameplay is about when it comes to extractions and stealing loot and stuff like that.
So the ninja backpack is still applicable, because the ninja backpack actually protects your items. So we don't need to change that one, basically.
Yeah, so if you're part of the DZPD, maybe be running around with, lots of Banshee. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe.
Why no real answer about double XP weekend? No, that's something we want to do, definitely. It's not that there is no real answer. It's something we want to do. We just don't have a date yet on
I
when
I
we're
mentioned
going
that
to
again.
do it.
It's one of those things that there just hasn't really been a good time for, especially with some of the gear score increases and the other stuff. Anyway.
But
now
it's going to happen.
There's no gear score increase coming up.
Nope.
So let's say it's likely. It's likely to happen.
We didn't make it for nothing, right?
Yeah. And also, there was another thing I just wanted to mention, because I've seen somebody has been quoting something apparently I said, I don't know. But yeah, about the body shot damage. So this is something to keep in mind. Again, this is a PTS. This is a thing we're trying on the PTS. We want to try it with Last Stand, so we will keep it for the next PTS with Last Stand to see how that goes. But this is something that is totally up in the air, if we will keep it or not, if we will tweak it, how it's going to work. So
it's sort of part of that dream of making sure that you dare to engage and shoot people at longer distances where you might not be sure to get a headshot, and make sure that you're deadly at longer distances. That's sort of the basis of why we want to try it. It seems to... The notion seems fairly unpopular right now. Let's be honest. But we want to definitely, but we definitely want to go through playing Last Stand with it on before we give up on the notion.
So we will try it, and then based on this next test, we will see if we keep it or not, and or how we implement it.
So someone asked also about survival changes. We talked about those last week, and there's a little bit of a chat about that in the past broadcast, and there's probably the thing that you're asking about is done. Anyway, anything else before we head off? I think what's the time? It's too small. I can't read it.
It's 5:40.
It's 5:40. Wow, it was a really, really quick
we went
40
over time.
minutes.
Stash size, no, we are not increasing stash size right now.
You can't do that for every state of the game.
No.
I know that we broke
Yeah.
some sort of
No.
chat scroll speed record when that happened, but
Yeah, there was a mic drop there. but,
Yes.
Stash size.
Someone was asking any love for snipers. I think the new Seeker,
Seeker.
set is going to be very, very, very interesting for snipers. And again,
Yes.
there may be some things that need to be changed with it. Certain, you know, how long does the third shot buff stick around, all that sort of thing. And then there's values that may need switching, you know, PTS, right?
Yeah. And for people that are talking about submachine guns, I think the availability of more critical strike chance on all pieces of gear, or like all pieces of the one piece of gear where that starts to appear, means that you're going to get higher crit. And also, I don't think people have really explored how good SMGs get with how good Pulse is right now.
Okay. Well, and also it's kind of hard to get a good read on where SMGs sit in reality.
With the Valkyries
given the
running
Valkyries
around.
like, Liz brought up something very quickly. Banshee in Last Stand. How do we classify our enemies? Are they technically rogue? Are they not?
No. So Banshee is essentially not going to be very good in Last Stand because they're not going to be rogue.
And by essentially, you mean useless.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
He just yeah.
Yeah.
No,
It's
so
gonna be
I
like-
wouldn't play Last Stand with Banshee. I wouldn't play Last Stand with Banshee.
I don't think anyone's
unfortunately.
going to be running unless you have like super min max and amazing stats.
Yeah.
But you are foregoing that talent because they're not rogue. There you go.
I mean, story-wise, they are.
Yeah, it's a little bit
Yeah,
confusing. We'll
it's-
have to actually explicitly state it on a gear set.
From the lore,
They're not really
You're-
rogue.
you're-
They're
yeah.
kind of just enemy.
no, they're rogue.
Are they rogue?
From the lore, they're rogue when you're playing Last Stand. So,
Damn it, Yannick. Fix it.
But
Fix it.
from game mechanics, they are not.
Fix it, Yannick.
All right.
Midas. There is a Midas.
We're still working on it. I'm not actually sure what's going to get in for the next
Okay.
PTS, but it's being worked on. We're probably switching out from the heal debuff that it's currently giving to something else.
Okay. I mean, right now it doesn't. It seems like a situational thing that could be kind of
Yeah,
cool.
but whatever
But
we do,
very
it's going to
situational.
apply more debuff to your enemy than to yourself.
Okay, so it won't be
also-
1-to-1.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, apparently we
Alright.
refuse to comment on loadouts, so yes, we can say loadouts is cool, that's something we want to do, that's just not something that we can do for 1.6, but that still is a cool idea, and that's something we want to add to the game at some point. So,
That'd be cool. I've talked about it
not
a
right
lot.
now, but eventually, hopefully.
Anyone who's used Outfitter or something like that before will know how awesome it is. I
Yeah.
agree. We'll see. You know. We agree. Loadouts are awesome.
Yes.
We're on the same page. All right, I'm going to be, so yeah, again, people will probably be wondering, when's PTS2 coming? To be fair, we would tell you if we knew.
Yeah.
It's being tested.
Yeah,
we'll
it's
we'll
being-
let you know as soon as soon as we know.
Things always move really, really quickly
Yeah.
with PTS type things. So that news could come very soon, or it could be, we don't know, really. So we're basically going up to Adrian and being like, hey man, when's it coming? When's it
When
coming?
is it?
But so make sure that you follow us on Twitter. That's kind of where we'll get that news out. And also, I'm streaming in the morning, so maybe we'll have some news then. I don't know. Maybe not. Come back and find out. And then
Find out.
Matt's probably streaming tomorrow night, and
Yeah.
we don't know. Anyway, make sure you pay attention.
Yes.
Because there will be news, and you don't want to miss it because there will be patch notes at the same time.
Yes.
Which will have a lot of information because there's a lot of changes.
Oh,
Anything
yes.
else?
No, I think you nailed
Nothing.
it.
I nailed it.
Awesome.
Cool. All right. I know, this is weird. Now I don't know what to do. What do we usually do at this time?
Awkward Hamish.
Sign off.
Usually I wave.
I don't. Okay.
We're going to go.